All right, how's it going, everybody? I'm going to do a video. This is a special request video, so this is not necessarily going to be pertaining to everyone, but just in case you're interested in how I have this board set up, I'm going to talk about this mixing console and the many ways you can use it. This is one of the last few types of analog consoles that Behringer did, where they decided to make an analog console that's was actually designed for professional recording compared to mixers. One thing when it comes to mixers, one of the few things that you're looking for is when it comes to a mixer, you want to make sure that you have actual physical buses. You want to have routings on the console that can route to buses. And even in the buses, you want to be able to look where you can do inserts on buses. Like here, these are insert points right here. There's 8 buses, so I got 8 insert points, and I actually have 2 compressors. This top compressor, this compressor right here, this Lisa 630, Lisa 3630, and that Behringer composer are on these mix buses. But I also have another Lisa 3630 that's on an insert that's on this channel right here. So what I'm going to talk about is I'm going to talk about this mixing console is actually a 48 channel mixing console. So you can, if you look up here, you'll see that all the channels here are shared by the simply switching of a switch. You flip this switch and then it goes to channel 25. You leave it up, it goes to channel 1. And that's across all of them. So I'm going to do how each channel is laid out, then I'm going to do the master section. And then this camera is not going to give you the best sound because it's the mic from, it is the mic from the camera, but you'll still be able to hear a little bit of this track that I was doing, and it's a remake and so forth. Now on the back of the console behind the meter bridge, this meter bridge is an add-on. These consoles didn't come with meter bridges. You had to buy this meter bridge separately, which I like meter bridges because you can still see what's going on with the levels on each channel. But it's consisted of the XLR input. Then you're going to have your line inputs, and you just have a button here. There's a button here that you just have to push. You push it down, sends the line, lift it up, puts it on the mic. Next, below the line inputs would be the inserts, or I'm sorry, the direct outs. The direct out, that's where you would send all your direct outs from every one of these channels to an input source to your recording. In most cases, the direct out from the channel would come into the input of something like an audio interface. That's how you would get the sound from the channel. That's how you get the sound from the channel, whatever you're recording. So let's say you had 24 channels. All 24 channels has something on it. Let's say you had 8 or even 10 mics recording, let's say like my drum set. Even though my drum set is not complete, I still got pieces coming in from my drum set. But let's say I had all the pieces. I would probably have 7 or 8, maybe even 10 mics. Because I would mic the snare, I would mic the high tom, the mid tom, the low tom. I would put a mic on the kick, maybe a mic on the inside of the kick, one on the outside of the kick. I would have a mic on the hi-hat. I might even have a top and bottom snare, overheads, picking up, and then I would definitely have room mics. So you're probably talking 10 to 12 microphones recording those drums. And all the mics would be running through various preamps, and then I would probably patch it in through a preamp like that. I got that patch bay on the floor over there. I would have patched it in. From the patch bay would be coming into the inputs of the channels. You can run and use the mic pre's inside the console, but I prefer to use external preamps like this preamp here, and I would have a whole bunch of them, just like you would hear in a recording an actual commercial studio. They have lots of preamps for that very reason. You're talking most pro studios are looking at about 40 to 50 preamps because they just of the amount of instruments and guitars and everything that they're recording. But anyhow, to make a long story short, so next I would have below the direct outputs, those direct outputs would go into your recording source, like your audio interface. Then below that is inserts. Like here, I have two inserts. So this insert, what's insert on channels 3 and 4, is this top compressor. And that's affecting just that channels 3 and 4 I have here. And I have a reason for that, because I want to use different compressor settings. So that's why you would have inserts on all your channels. The same way if you was inserting a plug-in on a track, it's the same thing. The only difference is you're using cables. Other than that, the channel layout for this console is, the first one is your gain input. So you're looking at your gain input, and then as you look at your gain input, you have your flip to switch it from channels, whatever, the first set of channels. And how you would insert the other channel, let's say this, since this one actually has 48 channels, where on this console, you're not going to really see it very good, but on the back of the console, there are inputs. You can see over there to the far right. See all those inputs? Those are all the inputs for channels 25 through 48. We go over there in those two rows of inputs. So if I was running, a separate set of channels, all I gotta do is flip the button, and I can hear the other sets of inputs coming into the console. Next would be the EQ band. Unlike your big consoles where you can actually have your Q, you have your high, your mid-high, your mid-low, and your low, and you can actually control the volume and set the frequencies. This board has a fix. The high is fixed at 12K, and the low is fixed at 80 Hertz. Then you have a mid-high and a mid-low. And the mid-high, mid-low is, that was the high, that is, the high-mid is the volume control for boosting or cutting, whatever frequency you set, right here on the frequency can set. And same thing, whatever frequency you set for the mid-low, and then you have your volume control for that. And then you have, what you have right here is a on and off switch for the EQ. And then below that, move this wire for the controller. Below that is the low cut filter. You can cut your high pass filter. So anything below 75 Hertz, it cuts. Now, other than that, you have your auxiliary section. This actually, even though there's four auxiliaries, this actually has 6 auxiliaries. It's just that you got 1 and 2, and you have a pre and post for that, and you have 5 and 6. You have a pre and post for that, but you also have a flip switch to flip it between 3 and 4 to 5 and 6. All you have to do is you just shift it. You hit the shift button there, and it shifts it to 5 and 6. 5 and 6. So you leave it up, 3 and 4, push it down, 5 and 6. And then there you have a pre button. And then you actually can, if you leave this button up, the auxiliaries will be affected by channels 1 and 2, or 1 through 24. But if you push this button down, you have a second set of mixing on this board that allows you to hear a second mix. So you can turn the main mix down and listen to a second mix for that very reason. A lot of times that's if you want to hear something different in the mix. And so you have your high, your low, and then you have your pan, and then your volume control for the second set of mixes. And then from there, you can mute the mixes, the second set of mixes, called mix B. Or you can also flip it so that whatever's done, so if you want to hear the second mix, you just push it down. If you don't want to hear the second mix, you just leave it up. Push it down, leave it up. On that, you have your main pan control for the fader, for the main control the main fade pan control for that channel. And then below that is your solo, and then your mute, and then you have your bus routing. And then of course you have your bus routing 1 and 2, since it's the 1 and 2, 3 and 4, since it's the 3 and 4, 5 and 6, since it's the 5, and so forth. And then of course finally you have your main mix volume. But because I have everything being routed to the bus, I don't have everything branded to the main fader. Everything's going to the buses. And then from the buses, I have the buses where you can turn these on and it sends it to the main out. And then you also have your model where you can have, instead of, if you wanted this to be paired and panning left and right, like I got set pan to life, then you push these down so it works in stereo. But if you wanted to hear it as a monitor where groups one works individually of each other, you push this down. And then you can hear that particular channel by the solo button. You just put the solo button in, of course, to let you know it's in solo. That's it for the bus. And then, of course, you got your main auxiliary sends 1 through 6. And you can solo to listen to what you're sending. By hitting the solo button. And then you also have your auxiliary returns. Now I'm missing the 2 knobs here, but this would actually be the mix balance for, and you can also send these auxiliaries to wherever you want to route them to. Your 6 auxiliary returns. And then you got your headphone mixes to adjust your headphone volumes, but I have the actual headphone box right here. I just have it coming directly from the audio interface directly, and it has a volume control because it has a volume control already. And that's only because the inserts for the headphone is under the meter bridge, which I didn't make any sense to put them there, but that's where they put them. So because these consoles really don't come with a meter bridge, they just happen to have a meter bridge. That's where they happen to put it. So it's not convenient to have it there. So I just run the volume control because I get the same volume control anyway for my headphones anyway, coming directly from the audio interface anyway. So, and that way I can turn the volume down on the main speakers when I want to record vocals, and I don't want to hit the speakers to come in the feedback into the mic. I just turn all the volumes down, but you can still hear the volume through the headphones. Anyhow, to make a long story short, that is generally it. Other than on the back, there are a few more other than these inserts. Of course, you would have all your bus inserts for your inserts on your buses right there, your auxiliary sends, and then your auxiliary returns right there. And then of course your output routings, all the outputs is going to the speakers. Like that's going to a set of speakers, that's going to a set of speakers, and then on the back those main 2 are going to those sets of speakers. So I have those speakers, then of course I have the Logitech with the sub, and then I have those speakers. But you also, on this console, you also have a lot more routing for inserts there and for. So it's got a lot of routing to insert stuff. So you can actually, believe it or not, you can actually mic up a lot of, or hook up a lot of stuff in this console to record a band. Because it's got 24, actually it's 48 channels. And another nice thing about it is you can switch between the channels and whatever you want to switch. You can just hit the switch to see what you want to meter. So, for example, my audio interface has 8 outputs. So I have 8 outputs. So those are all going into these channels. And the reason why I'm skipping 9 and 10 because 9 is acting flaky. So I could make it 10 and 11, but it's just 9 and 10, so I just made 11 and 12. But anyhow, it's got 8 puts, so 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then 11 and 12. Those are coming out of the outputs of the audio interface. So when I play this track, so all my and then also another trick is most of the time when you do the auxiliary send, like all my compressors will be on inserts or buses, but my effect, like that rolling effect processor, is actually being sent through an auxiliary. So I got auxiliary 1, and the return, instead of the auxiliary being a return with a return on a auxiliary return, it's actually being returned to a channel. That's a trick, because what it allows you to do on the auxiliary returns, there's no EQ, but on the channel you can EQ the effect. So if I think there's too much highs in the reverb or too much lows, I can adjust it in the channel. That is a well-known trick. If you ever watch a lot of big guys using large format consoles, you'll see that they'll have delays and reverbs on channels. Very popular thing to do. Other than that, of course, I got my fader port to control the song, whatever DAW I'm in, and I just have it sitting on here because it don't really hurt. It's not really hurting the console. This thing doesn't weigh very much. And other than that, just watching the DAW, itself. I'm in Reaper when I did that track. And then, of course, you do have your main volume control output, but you also have a setup. You have a control room. Here, you have, I have the volume, studio volume here. For mix B, I can, for those set of speakers. Then, of course, I have, but even when and believe it or not, when I put it here and I turn all the volumes up to hear the sub, to hear the those mains and those other sets of speakers from mix B, other than me talking, that's about as much noise as you're going to get. Unless I just crank it, max it. If I just, then it's going to be really noisy when I max the volume. But then, of course, I would blow the speakers. So, but this is about as much as volume because it gets ridiculously loud. I have my volume about here. And that's the general layout of the board. So when I'm playing songs, I'm playing tracks and I'm mixing, of course. Other than that, I still use plugins too. I still got, like, this is the T-Rex version of the LA2A. So I still got plugins on the channels. I still got the plugins that I'm using. Like, for example, on my main bus, I'm using the SSL. It was the T-Rex version of the master, their master bus. I'm using that plugin. It's called the glue type of compressor. It gives you that glue, and that's what I use. So I'm using that. And I'm also still using, your typical, like the T-Rex version of the SSL channel, channel strip, which is this one. So I'm using a combination of the plugins as well as what's coming through the console. That's why I don't have a ton of rack gear down here like I do upstairs. But that is the layout of the mixing console. So when I play this song, And there you have it. I don't want to play that track too much because when I upload this, the melody might be recognizable, and I don't want to get flagged for the video because, you know, y'all understand. So, but that's generally how I use the console. So when I got some more pieces, I got a couple more reverbs coming in, and they will be on channels, auxiliaries 2 and 3, and those returns will be on channels. I got another compressor coming in because I have a DBX compressor I want to use. I like to use the DBXs on drums more than I like the leases, even though it works. But you'll see the compressors kick into action when the song kicks in. You can see everything. So with the compressors, the reverb, the plugins, the console, and all that, that's the reason why. And it's like I said, the camera's not going to give it any justice. The camera's not going to give it any full justice as if you're being here in the room listening to it. When people listen to it here in the room, they're like, man, I'm blown. Man, that's coming from the Behringer? Yes, it's coming from this console. And I've already have everything EQ'd and set and dialed in, and on what I'm boosting, cutting, and all across all the channels, you know, the channels that I'm using. So imagine, and that's coming from this Behringer audio interface. Imagine when I upgrade to like an Analog and run the Analog across all 24 tracks when I record down here. And imagine when I get the Mo 2 or an Analog or what I'm going to use upstairs, use on the Allen Heat. Imagine how that's going to sound. Other than that, that's going to do it for this video. Thanks for watching. I hope y'all, this is the layout of the Behringer. I didn't do too much in depth because I just don't have a whole lot of stuff plugged into it. But I've seen where these boards have all 48 inputs, and they are running a lot of stuff on the bus channels and all those additional inserts. I've seen where these boards were loaded down, but you would be amazed when you're running everything through it how much you would think it's really can compete with some high-end consoles. Other than that, that's going to do it for this video, and we'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. And that's it.